A girl with a face full of freckles suddenly became a seductive goddess in the virtual world overnight. Her follower count skyrocketed by 20 million in just one night. With her unique appearance and an irresistibly beautiful singing voice, wherever she appeared, flowers would rain from the sky. Massive whales served as her parade floats, but no one could have imagined that this superstar influencer was actually just an ordinary girl living in a remote countryside. Her face was covered in freckles, and she was extremely self-conscious. She was even socially anxious after her mother passed away. Suzu rarely spoke with her father. At school, she didn't fit in either. Only her best friend Hiroka cared about her from time to time. Suzu deeply admired the school's most popular girl, Ruka. Ruka wasn't just lively and beautiful, she always managed to be the center of attention. Suzu also had a crush on a boy. His name was Shinobu, and he was the most popular guy in school. But Suzu, overwhelmed by insecurity, never dared to confess her feelings. One day, her classmates dragged her to a party. Everyone enthusiastically handed her a microphone, wanting to hear her sing, but Suzu couldn't utter a single note. She fled the scene in embarrassment. When she was younger, Suzu used to be a bright and cheerful girl. Her favorite thing was singing with her mother. Her mom would always cook delicious meals for her and play with her often. But one day, her mother died while trying to rescue a girl from a flood. Suzu was heartbroken. She couldn't understand why her mother would leave her to save someone else's child. Since then, she was left with psychological scars, and she was never able to sing again. That was when her best friend Hiroka sent her an invitation. It was for a virtual app called You. The app created a one-of-a-kind avatar for each person, based on their individual traits. It offered people a chance at rebirth inside the world of You. Suzu was stunned by her avatar in the virtual world. She was as beautiful as Ruka, yet she still had the freckles on her face. She named the character Belle. After putting on the shared headphones, Suzu's 5 senses were transmitted into the U world. At the same time, the system handed over full control of Belle to Suzu. As the gates of U opened, an unprecedented world unfolded before her. Users from around the world were active in U. Its daily user count reached over 5 billion. Suzu gazed at her brand new self, and suddenly felt a powerful impulse. She began to hum a song she had once written, and this time, she sang with all her heart. Every note, every lyric flowed naturally, like a voice from heaven. Through her singing, Suzu poured out all her pain and insecurity. Crowds began to gather around her instantly. Some were full of malice, claiming she was too arrogant. Others mocked the girl with freckles, but Suzu didn't stop singing. She had never felt so free while singing. A little angel, drawn in by her voice, flew to her side. It became her very first fan. The next morning, Suzu quickly grabbed her phone and checked her profile, but reality was harsh. No one had noticed her. No one had sent flowers. Her world remained unchanged. She was still just a regular, freckled 17-year-old girl. During the day, Suzu continued going to class with Hiroka. After school, she played with stray cats. Then she walked home alone. In those days, Suzu kept writing music every day. Maybe it was the only thing that helped her forget her troubles. But one morning, her phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Her follower count had suddenly jumped to over 20 million, and it was still climbing. Her singing video had gone viral. Belle had become an overnight sensation in the U world. No one had ever heard a voice like hers before. Even every outfit Belle wore became an instant fashion trend. But not everyone liked Belle. A washed-up influencer publicly criticized her, saying she only relied on sexy outfits to get attention. These comments were quickly shared and spread by tons of users. Suzu was stunned and panicked. She had no idea what to do. She rushed to her best friend Hiroka for help. But Hiroka remained calm. She thought it was perfectly normal. After all, Suzu had risen to fame way too quickly. Hiroka's next step was to donate all of Belle's income in U to charity organizations under Hiroka's management. Belle's fanbase continued to grow. Before long, U announced a massive concert just for Belle. The expected attendance was over 200 million. Inside the enormous dome venue, fans from all over the world filled the seats. Belle made her dazzling entrance, wearing a gorgeous crystal dress. But just then, a dark red figure stormed the stage. It was a dragon-shaped monster. The creature unleashed incredible power, effortlessly taking down several guards. The audience instantly recognized who it was. He called himself Dragon. He had suddenly appeared months ago, challenging dojos across the U world. Undefeated in every battle, The Guardians of You saw him as a threat to public order and tried to capture him. Their leader, Justin, deployed the ultimate weapon. A green beam of light burst from the weapon. If it struck someone, their real identity would be exposed instantly. Justin wanted to unmask Dragon in front of 200 million viewers, but Dragon didn't back down. He tore a catwalk from the ceiling and lunged at the other Guardians. Then, in front of everyone, he made his escape. Belle's concert was abruptly cut short. It became the hottest topic in the U-world. Hiroka was furious. She vowed to find Dragon and take revenge. She began gathering intel from those who had been defeated. Eventually, she tracked Dragon to a mysterious castle, following Hiroka's lead. Belle arrived at an abandoned factory. Many Guardians were searching the area nearby. While in an alley, Belle met a small sprite. When the sprite heard she was looking for the castle, it led her into another dimension, but the space kept shifting along the way, as if it had no end. Just as Belle began to panic, the little angel suddenly appeared. It turned out the sprite had been playing tricks on her. The kind-hearted little angel then guided Belle to the real castle. The angel led her into a secret garden inside. There, roses bloomed full of hidden meaning. Suddenly, Dragon appeared. He was furious that Belle had entered his castle uninvited, but Belle followed him anyway, determined to uncover his true identity. Enraged, Dragon roared, threatening to tear Belle apart. The little angel, thinking it had done something wrong, tried to leave in guilt, but Dragon gently picked the angel back up and held it carefully. Belle caught a glimpse of Dragon's gentle and kind side. She couldn't help but become intrigued by him, because in him, Belle saw a reflection of herself. But in the end, Dragon still shut her out. On her way home, Suzu hummed softly to herself, thinking about Dragon's shadowy figure. Suddenly, her phone wouldn't stop ringing. It turned out, her classmates had misunderstood her relationship with Shinobu. They now saw Suzu as their romantic rival. Even Ruka sent a message, asking Suzu for help. Confused and upset, Suzu wandered to the lakeside. There, she spotted Shinobu and Shinjiro. After Suzu's mother died, Shinobu had looked after her like an older brother. Suzu wanted to use this chance to ask him how he truly felt about her. Just then, Shinjiro arrived carrying a kayak, cutting their conversation short. Suzu didn't press the issue any further. She turned and walked away. She pulled out her phone and quickly replied to Ruka, agreeing to help her, but tears streamed down her face uncontrollably. Heartbroken, Suzu returned to the U-world. With help from the little angel, she entered Dragon's private room. A torn photo hung on the wall. Dragon sat at the doorway, covered in injuries. Belle reached out her hand to touch him, but Dragon was unusually furious at her actions. Terrified, Belle fled in panic, but as soon as she left the castle, she was ambushed by the Guardians. They tore off her hood and realized she was Belle. Without hesitation, Justin raised his ultimate weapon, aiming to unmask her true identity. In that critical moment, Dragon arrived just in time. He scooped Belle up and ran. Dragon couldn't fight back while carrying Belle. He charged straight into a skyscraper, using the impact to shake off their pursuers. At last, he narrowly escaped with Belle. Back at the castle, Dragon tried to push Belle away again, but Belle said, "The one that's hurting must be your heart." This time, Dragon didn't send her away. Their relationship began to thaw. Belle sang a song she had written especially for Dragon. Her warm, heartfelt voice seemed to gently melt the walls around his heart. With help from the sprite, the castle transformed into a dazzling stage. Belle took Dragon's hand, and the two began to dance. They held each other tightly beneath the starlit sky. But just then, Dragon suddenly clutched his head. His face twisted in pain. Belle gasped. New wounds were appearing on Dragon's back. In the U-world, avatars are linked to real-world users, which meant, at that moment, Dragon's real body was being hurt in the real world. But no one knew who Dragon really was. Some said he was a genius gamer, others claimed he was an old man, and some even said the person behind the mask was a fat woman. No one knew the truth. Belle's concert was postponed indefinitely. The Guardians found her again. They wanted to use her to lure Dragon out. Justin, the leader of the Guardians, saw himself as a champion of justice. But even when threatened by Justin, Belle refused to betray Dragon, even if it cost her life. Just then, the sprite trapped Justin in an illusion and successfully rescued Belle, but the rose petals Belle had left behind exposed the location of the castle. Belle thanked the sprite and quickly returned to the real world. She had to find out Dragon's true identity as soon as possible. The next day at the station, Suzu ran into Ruka. Ruka was incredibly grateful for Suzu's help. It turned out Ruka had secretly liked Shinjiro all along. She also noticed that Suzu had feelings for Shinobu, but Suzu denied it. Suzu explained that, after her mother passed away, she would often cry alone. Her classmates made fun of her because of it. At the time, Shinobu thought Suzu was being bullied, so he began looking out for her. The two girls opened up to each other and promised to hang out again sometime. Just as they were about to leave, they happened to run into Shinjiro. Ruka was too nervous to speak. Thankfully, Suzu stepped in and eased the awkward tension. Thanks to her efforts, the two of them finally became a couple. As Suzu left the station, she ran into Shinobu again. Suzu wanted to tell him that she was actually Belle from the U-World, but it seemed like Shinobu already knew everything. Right at that moment, Hiroka called with urgent news. Dragon was in danger. The Guardians had traced the rose petals and discovered the location of the castle. Dragon's hideout was exposed under the eyes of the entire U-World. Countless Guardians swarmed in and began destroying the castle. Dragon's true identity was about to be revealed. Everyone was watching, breathless with anticipation. Suzu quickly put on her headset and entered the U-World, but by the time she arrived, the castle had already been reduced to ruins. Many sprites were seriously injured or dead. Yet the Guardians still couldn't find Dragon, so they decided to set fire to the remains of the castle to force Dragon to come out with its last ounce of strength. One sprite opened the door to a hidden chamber. Belle ran up the spiral staircase, and finally, within the wreckage, she found Dragon barely clinging to life. She tried to carry him away to safety, but Dragon didn't want to drag her down with him. He stood up and leapt from the castle. Meanwhile, Ruka and the others saw the breaking news from the U-World. Shinobu asked Ruka if she knew where Suzu had gone. Ruka remembered their earlier talk about elementary school memories. Shinobu realized Suzu must have gone to their old elementary school. At that very moment, Belle was still desperately searching for Dragon in the U-World, but she was quickly surrounded by a swarm of fans. Meanwhile, Shinobu and the others arrived at the old elementary school. There, they found Suzu and Hiroka. At that moment, Suzu was frantically searching online for any clues about Dragon. Suddenly, a boy's singing voice caught Suzu's attention. It was the very song she had written for Dragon. Only Dragon had ever heard it, but Suzu could clearly feel that this boy wasn't Dragon. Just then, the boy's father appeared. He angrily knocked over a vase, yelled that the boy was disturbing his work, and said he needed to be taught a lesson. At that moment, another boy rushed in and shielded the first boy with his own body. Suzu immediately recognized him. He was Dragon. Suzu opened a video call, hoping to talk to Dragon, but he didn't believe she was Belle. Instead, he lashed out at her, calling her a shameless voyeur who mocked people's secrets. Then, the video was cut off. Once again, Suzu lost contact with Dragon. Shinobu told Suzu that the only way to earn Dragon's trust was to sing as her true self. Just then, Justin burst in, trying to force Belle to sing. In order to lure Dragon out, Belle seized the moment and activated the weapon on Justin's hand. As the green light flashed, to the shock of millions of fans, Belle slowly transformed back into an ordinary girl. Shinobu quickly played the backing track. It was the first time Suzu ever sang with her real appearance. Some in the crowd mocked her, while others cheered her on. Through her heartfelt voice, Suzu slowly moved every listener. Their emotions gathered into twinkling lights, illuminating the entire night sky. Soon, it became a massive sing-along, with hundreds of millions joining in. A giant whale appeared once more, lifting Suzu into the air, transforming her back into Belle. Dragon watched everything unfold. He was about to send Suzu their location, but just then, his father stormed in again and slammed the video off. The call was lost once more. The only clue was the two buildings visible from the window. As everyone tried to figure it out, Shinjiro recognized the location instantly. He had taken photos there during a previous competition. Suzu immediately took a night bus to get there. When she arrived, a light rain was falling. She ran through the streets, searching anxiously. Just then, the smaller boy appeared before her. Suzu rushed over and embraced him. Dragon, standing behind, could hardly believe it. Belle had actually come, but at that moment, Their father appeared again. Seeing the boys had gone out without permission, he was furious. Suzu shielded the boys with her body. The man yanked her aside in anger and raised his fist, ready to hit his sons. But Suzu suddenly stood up, with a look of unwavering determination in her eyes. At that moment, something in the man seemed to break. He collapsed to the ground, as if he had seen the ghost of his late wife. Dragon was deeply grateful that Belle had come for them. Seeing the courage in Suzu's eyes, he made a vow to protect his little brother no matter what. At the bus stop for their journey home, Suzu's father was already waiting. Alongside him were her classmates. Shinobu watched as Suzu began protecting others, and smiled with pride. It was then that he finally confessed his feelings for Suzu, and in front of everyone's cheers and support, Suzu finally sang the song she had written long ago, a song just for Shinobu.